Happy time of day, everybody. My name is Jerome. I am a youth advocate with Turning Point of Lehigh Valley. Thank you for tuning into our presentation about Teen Dating Awareness 101. Hopefully, be a conversation and a healthy guide for parents. Here at Turning Point of Lehigh Valley, we are a primary domestic violence resource for Lehigh and Northampton counties in Pennsylvania. We are here today as part of our mission, which is to eliminate domestic and intimate partner abuse in the Lehigh Valley. Now, as youth advocate, my primary role is helping students and teens in our high schools and in the community, helping understand healthy relationships and how they can learn and grow and make the best choices for them as they grow. So today we're going to have a brief discussion with you about teen dating violence and some things that can help. Including here today, we're going to talk about exactly that. What is teen dating abuse? How we navigate some safety concerns there, and some supportive resources that can help everybody out along the way. So thank you for being with us. We're going to start just with brief statistics here, just to explain kind of why we started this work here at Turning Point Lehigh Valley. A big part of that is these statistics here that do exist, right? That being 1 in 3. This meaning that 1 out of every 3 teens will experience a unhealthy or toxic relationship throughout their teen years, right? And that could be something from physical, right? It could be emotional, psychological, financial, anything like that. And so we're hopefully here to help us with preventing some of those numbers. And to get us kind of started, get us into that mode, get the juices flowing, we're going to start off with a brief activity. This is a red flag versus green flag activity, which is actually this activity we do with the students when we do presentations and classroom sessions. It goes over really well, and we have a lot of fun with it and actually some good discussions. So I'm hoping we can get some of those ideas from you guys, check to see how well we're doing. But also then you just think to yourself, what would you say? Are these a red flag? Is this a green flag? What do you think your teens might say? That's kind of what we look at. So if you see on the next couple of slides, there'll be some scenarios. Think to yourself, is it a red flag, meaning bad behavior, things we don't want to see happen? Or is it a good behavior we want to encourage, a green flag? So let's see how we do. There's no points or anything, but let's see if we have some fun anyway. So here's the first one that gets a lot of discussion going too. It is okay to play fight with my partner. Okay, so think about what your thought might be. In the schools, though, we end up seeing a lot of our teens tend to think or start thinking this is a green flag, right? Because we're play fighting, right? So we're having fun. It's just a joke. It wouldn't do anything like that for real, right? But we do encourage them to understand that this itself is a red flag type behavior that we don't want to encourage, right? So we let people invade like our physical boundary, willingly, right? And we think it's fun, right? Then when things go wrong or when things start to get heated or angry, right? Those things might come out again because they're basically behaviors we've learned that are okay, right? We've told them it's okay in normal settings. So when things get worse, it comes out even worse. So we encourage them to remember those physical boundaries they have, talk about them. This is a red flag. This one we also talk about with students a lot and get some good discussion. They let me vent without interruption and without judgment. So this one we again coach with our students that this is a green flag, right? We want to be able to have that person we can talk to, right? We all kind of want to be heard, we want to be seen, right? And if someone's not judging us, then we feel safe, and there's a lot of trust that gets built up, kind of foundations for healthy relationships. So again, we encourage them to look for these types of green flags. I know this one really gets a lot of the crowd going, a lot of discussion. Okay, in the talking stage, they ask for my location because they care about my safety. So this one gets it going a lot, right? As you guys probably may have known or seen for some of the teens you've interacted with, sharing location can be a big part of relationships with teens. Now, with this one that comes up, part of this that comes up a lot for us is the talking stage. Kind of what actually does that mean? And to be honest, with some of our advocates, it's a little bit nebulous for us as well. We have students that tell us, talking stage might last a week. Some tell us it may last 6 months. We've seen all numbers in between. Really, what it means is this talking stage is that point in the relationship where we haven't really said we're boyfriend or girlfriend yet, but we're just talking or texting, most likely is what that is, before it's official. So we don't really know this person too well. So we encourage them to think, is this a person that I want to know where I live, like know where I'm going every day? even though I don't know them too well, right? So we tend to steer them towards this being an example of another red flag, right? Having that information too quickly or without proper permission or discussion of boundaries could bring in a lot of manipulation or just that expectation that you have to be on all the time, right? So especially if people are forcing something like this to happen or not respecting a boundary you might set, also examples when we tell them red flags. Here's our next one. They're curious about who I am without pressuring me to share all my trauma. And surprisingly, we get a couple mixed responses on this one. But overall, we would encourage them to think of this as a green flag, right? Key phrases here in this statement here, again, being curious, right? It's good. We want to be able to interact with our partners, get to know more about them, right? But also key here is, without pressure, right? Because sometimes if we share information too quickly, that can also be used as a way for manipulation or other unhealthy relationship behaviors, right? So if we can share information when we'd like without being pressured, then we have, again, more trust, more safety, important parts, right? So encourage them again to think of these as green flags. Now, this one can get the crowd going really well. They tell me about their ex and hope I'll be different. Okay? What do we think about with these statements, right? We see things like this a lot. We hear lots of words from the students a lot, like that's ick, that's cringe, right? We hear words like, oh, they were crazy, things like that, right? So we do want to steer them away from some name calling, but also recognize that this is itself a red flag, right? Because we don't want to just from the very beginning invite that comparison to somebody else. We want to have that opportunity to be our own person and form our own relationship with this person that's mutually respectful and mutual trust. So no comparison right away. Okay. And there's the last one we're going to share with you guys today. They're the same with me in private and in public, especially around their friends. Now, we have seen a lot that teens can be often in a situation where they have friends or they might have somebody that is their boyfriend, girlfriend, and everything goes well. But when other people come around, when there's different friends group, then the dynamic changes. They act weird. They don't talk to each other anymore. They ostracize somebody else. So we want to make sure that they recognize that that's not okay, right? Your partner, your friends, they should treat you the same, whether they're in one situation or another. So again, how we're saying. So those are kind of some red and green flag exercises we go through with our students. Hopefully you guys did well, even though there's no points. It's okay. We want to start then kind of diving right in, talk about what actually is teen dating abuse, right? And again, this is just not somebody making fun of each other. This is a repeated pattern, right, of unhealthy behaviors that are causing distress or harm potentially to someone. Primarily, we have them recognize this in one of three ways. They might see all these probably. Unhealthy boundaries, right? Like maybe texting too late or not respecting a physical boundary, right? If somebody doesn't want hugs right now, respect that, right? Unhealthy communication or also unequal power and control, right? You can see this in different ways people act with what they expect with communication wise, what we want from sharing your location, unhealthy boundary, right? Forcing someone to control where you are. So, and we probably all think these examples, but teens see this as well. So we hope them to recognize. So, and this is what I always call the obligatory slide that we have in any presentation. We're talking about teens. Anybody who's spent time working with teens knows slides like this well enough, right? We're talking about the digital world. And we're bringing it up here because, again, with relationships, a lot of them start on their phone. A lot part of the interactions can happen on their devices. So we need to at least be aware that this is how dating can work. We can have our own thoughts about it, but it's just how it is, right? And this isn't to say that the technology itself is bad, but it does kind of tend to intensify some things that are unhealthy or controlling behaviors, like sharing locations, right? This is something teens will do, right? Sharing passwords to like their social media or their phone, right? Not just here's the password to my phone, go look at it, but oh, here's the password to my Instagram. You can see that I'm fine, right? Things like that will happen. Also, but again, also teens with phones, there could be the opportunity to post threatening with images, screenshots, things that are compromising in some fashion or another. So these things can exist, a little bit different challenges than maybe we may have experienced when we were younger. We also encourage them at this point to make teens aware that boundaries we have, they exist both in the real world and in the digital world. So just because it's on the phone doesn't mean we can't set a boundary. And that's important. So that's like the phone, our digital environment. What we want to look at here is going to showcase is a couple graphics that'll showcase kind of what we want to see and what teen relationships will see. One of them is the power and control wheel. Now, this you can find online as well if you want online from Teens for Courage. But what it represents is in the center is our teen, and around the outside edge is really any sort of vector or way that power can be exerted over somebody else. Some of these are going to be similar to what adults might have, but just appear in different ways, right? Even adults, right, can face sexual coercion or threats of violence or blaming, right, or gaslighting. Teens can especially feel that hard, though, right? But what is unique, a lot of times with teens, we see is like social status is a big one, right? Sometimes as a teen, it's really important to be part of a group, part of a crowd, and being removed from that group can be like the end of your social existence for them. And that's really important for teens. A lot of it's because they're building their identity and learning how to be people and learning how to do relationships at the same time as puberty's happening and all these life changes are happening. And think about from what you remember from being a teenager, right? The dynamic between a senior and a freshman, right? That can create a really unhealthy relationship dynamic when power can be used in an unhealthy way. Same thing with, like, again, peer pressure. We see that sometimes as adults, but teens experience that more frequently, and it's more intense feelings of it, right? Pressure to do certain acts or to treat people a certain way online can be just from peer pressure. People dogpile on other people, or requests for favors because everybody else is doing it. You don't want to be the last person in your group to not do X thing, right? Peer pressure. So those are some examples. What might it look like, or how do we see it when it's actually happening? Okay, that's where we want to highlight and showcase to you the cycle of abuse. This is the same cycle that we see in adults as well. So you may recognize this from experience with people you work with or in your own lives. So I just encourage you to remember that we're here to kind of make sure our teens know what's going on because they don't fully know what healthy relationships are. They haven't formed those yet. So helping recognizing what these signs are can help us help them. Now, we probably all have seen like movies, we've seen TV shows. We know all these relationships, right? They always tend to start like in a honeymoon phase. Where everything is really grand, everything's really fun, right? The cheerleader hooks up with the guy from the football team. They have a great time. They talk all the time. They go to the movies. They eat popcorn. They have food. It's just fun, fun all the time. But it's not realistic. We all know it happens in relationships. Tensions build up. We might walk on eggshells around each other. We say the wrong thing. We make a social faux pas. It happens, right? But when our relationships are unhealthy, incidents appear, right? This might be now we're progressive. We're not just like disagreeing. There's an actual physical fight. We're yelling, we're screaming, we're throwing things across the room, right? We're going to unfollow somebody. We're going to block them. We might just ghost them, ignore them completely. We're just out of their lives. Right? And this can be really tough with teens because they, again, we're looking for that social gratification kind of like constantly. So there's a period of calm that comes by now where we think everything's okay. I can move forward. We're past this. And then the person, our ex, our person we're talking to, comes back to us with some heartfelt message like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to do that. You know I care for you. We're so perfect together. We should keep doing this. Let's get back together." And they say things like, "Oh, we'll change, right? I won't do it again." And you probably know where this is going, right? They don't change, right? That's why we call this a cycle. They have that excuse will come up. They might then give us more attention right away. They might give us treats. They might give us food. They might bring us more attention, right? Especially online as well, so we can increase our social score, so to speak, and we can get back together again because we think, "Oh, this is fine. This is normal, right? Now we're good." But realistically, they're teens. We understand that sometimes relationships can be mixed, and there's good things or bad. Teens don't always recognize that, and they may think that this is normal for this type of thing to happen. But we just want to make sure we all understand that this can be a repeated pattern like this is a unhealthy or abusive relationship, and help them recognize when that happens. So, what are some things we might look for to see this happening? Because it's, if you've talked with teens or had teens in your life, you know that they're not going to come to you with problems right away and be real honest about it, right? They're not going to come to you and say, hey mom, hey dad, I'm in an unhealthy relationship and I need some help. Probably the last thing that's going to happen. So these signs you might notice first. You might see several of these categories. You might see only one. If it's happening just once, that may not be anything to be necessarily alarmed for. But the key is we're looking for patterns, like we just saw, that create that cycle. So, for example, emotional changes, right? Changes in our mood. How are we reacting around family, right? Do we enjoy family time and now all of a sudden we don't, right? How about how we interact with our friends, right? Do they have friends over and they kind of just ignore each other and act distant, right? Those are all things that could appear. What about phones or changes in digital behavior, right? Are they spending all their time like on their computer or on their phone now, right? Are they spending less time, right? Do they get sad or upset after looking at their phone, right? Do they get really angry and push back when there's imposed rules on like phone use time or screen time or something like that, right? School changes are another thing that happens when there might be abusive relationships. This could be, going to school late or being absent, right? Or maybe, our grades drop, or sometimes grades can improve, right? Maybe there's a hyper focus now, so our grades go back up. Sudden changes like that can all point potentially to something, right? And of course, big simple one, obviously, appearance changes, right? Changing attire, changing what they physically look like with their hair, makeup, any other types of accessories, right? Do they go from being the child that wears pink all the time to now they wear black and want to have like black lipstick and eyeliner look, right? Changes like that, again, things to just notice and then we can just bring attention to, which I think is the important part, is bringing awareness to these, not acting as though something's wrong, blaming or making accusations, right? Um, because having these concerns and how we navigate them can make a difference in whether a teen's going to continue to approach us and come to us when they have a concern, or are they just going to shut away and try to solve the problem on their own, and who knows where that goes, right? We find with the teens that we work with, one of the biggest things that helps in this regard is involving them in whatever plan or actions we have, right? Discussing it with them directly, right? Keeping them involved, not making that decision for them, but including their thoughts, their opinion. What would they like to do, right? Instead of saying, hey, you're not going to date Blake anymore because Blake's a bad person, right? Bring some attention to what's going on, right? Address it and say, hey, like, I know you and Blake used to be really happy, but now you guys just seem to be arguing all the time. Right? Let them know. And then ask them other questions like maybe what would they like to do about it? Right? What do you think would you want to see happen? Right? Instead of making those choices. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't want to take action as parents when we feel that there's concerns of safety involved. Right? Big part of being, as we know, with being parents or supporting teens is making sure they're safe. Right? So there might be times you do have to step in. Right? And here's just some examples of when that might happen. Right? If your teen is expressing genuine fear, right, that's a clear sign that you need to step in, make sure everything's okay. Right? Stalking, if somebody's tracking them, right? There's sexual pressures, coercion, or like threats, right? Physical harm, self harm, things that are actually physically make with somebody physically safe and need immediate attention. We want to step in, right? As the parent, right? Not to punish anybody, right? We're trying to protect our child or our teens from unsafe behaviors. Even still, we know this is something we should be doing, but what I want to just clarify or just add in, it is helpful to have loop in our teens with what's going on, right? Let them know that, hey, look, I know that you're upset, but that party was not a safe place. because of these factors going on. So I needed to make sure you got home safe. So I brought you home early, right? Examples of why, make sure they know why. You're not just punishing them, you're just being mean, right? Or just trying to control them. Okay. Helping just again make sure that conversation can continue, keep an open dialogue with you and your teams. So part of this then can involve, and what we also as a big help with making sure we can keep our teams safe and have these conversations, is focusing on again on safety planning. Again, which is just making sure that we are prepared for things that might happen, right? We have drills in school, we have fire drills at the workplace, we have emergency contacts on our phone, we have alerts for tornadoes and hurricanes. We have systems that's in place. It's similar, just applying that same principle here, right? And again, from our previous other slides, let's keep them involved the whole way, right? If we know that there is a plan that we want to make sure that they're safe online, we're not going to dictate to them, oh, well, so you can be safe online, you're just not going to use Instagram, right? That's not going to work, as you can probably imagine. So how do we keep them involved, build them into place to build a plan they can be safe online, right? Or when we have good uses of technology, how do we then balance out when something bad happens? Some things that this can look like in your safety plan, again, having a code word, right? Have a code word that you set up so that if your team can text you a code word or two, and then you know that you're going to take whatever action that is. So there's no judgment. Nobody has to look weird. It doesn't have to look like an odd weird. Your team doesn't have to go say, oh, hold on, I'm going to go call my mom, right? Because that's going to be tough to expect them to do. Even then, like knowing who to get in touch with for help, right? If it's a community resource like Turning Point, your trusted adult, whoever that person could be in your scenario, good to make sure that they're aware. And also making sure that the ways to save information or evidence, right? Especially if you think there's threats of violence or stalking, other online harms, how do we collect information so that we can have it available for when it's needed? Or it can be just like planning where to go, right? Things may not always be safe at home, or maybe things aren't always safe at school, right? Maybe there's some things going on in an after school program. Where does your team go instead if they're not getting support where they're at? Just things that we can include, always again, keeping them in mind. Now we mentioned again collecting evidence and safeties. One tool that's out there that can support your teams or yourself is a protection from abuse order. Just like it says on the screen here, again, it's a legal court order that protects somebody from abuse, right? So this is a legal document that under threat of law, somebody could be prohibited from being in contact with somebody. Somebody can be removed from a shared dwelling, right? Or also work through things at school as well, right? Similar to how like sometimes your guidance counselors can make arrangements in schools. This would be a legal matter for more serious incidences involving like intimate partners. Now it's good we bring this to your attention as parents and those responsible for teens, because in Lehigh and Northampton counties, often a minor is going to need help from a parent or adult to actually file for a protection from abuse order. So just make sure you at least know. And the good part is you don't have to be the expert. Turning Point of Lehigh Valley is an excellent resource to help you with these protection from abuse orders. We have advocates located at both of the courthouses in Allentown and in Easton. They're available every day that the courts are open to help answer questions, provide guidance, kind of explain the process, what's going to happen next. Now we're not lawyers, so we won't give you legal advice in that sense, but we do know exactly who you can reach out to for more support if you need more help than what we can offer ourselves. So now that is a lot, and there's a lot of things that could happen. Probably a lot of things you're thinking of that could go wrong, right? How do we have those conversations, right? I want to talk to you a little bit about that, because I think that's sometimes where we can feel like we don't know what to do. Now, there's a couple of tips I'm going to give you, but I think the first thing I'll just mention is this often starts well beforehand. So well before something needs to come up, you want to just make sure you have that open and supportive relationship with your team, with your children. Let them know that they can come to you with questions If they have any questions, if they see something that they don't understand, have them come to you. And if they do, right, we don't want to make accusations. We don't want to get angry, right? Because they are exploring as well. And we're both kind of learning along the way because these are probably not easy conversations to have. And maybe we never had somebody to do this with us. So we're both kind of learning. So lean into that a little bit, right? Like, hey, like I know this is kind of strange, right? Like we didn't have these types of services when I was younger. We didn't have social media. So how does this work? Get inquisitive, and let's work together how we can make this better, right? So one of those keys, the first tip here for sure that will help you is to lead with observation and not accusations. Okay? So just observing what you're seeing, what's happening, right? Like I noticed you don't hang out with your friends as much anymore. Are they okay? Right? Just being curious. Right? And you may need to also just name that elephant in the room. Just like, hey, look, I noticed you and Blake are arguing all the time. You used to be really close. Is everything all right? Did something change? So we're calling out what we're seeing, giving it a name. We often find that when that happens, teens feel empowered, they can talk about it, they'll be more willing to. So encourage that. But also we encourage just listening, right? Just listening to understand what's going on. We're not immediately trying to fix a problem, right? Especially because we're trying to keep our teens involved in these solutions, right? So we don't want to jump in with the answers. We give them their opportunity to help us together, right? So listen, kind of like what we expect. We've all heard of active listening. Similar skills there. We just listen to what they're saying. They might be body language they're giving, or they might be saying things in different ways. Just bringing awareness to all of it. So just important things to keep in mind. And by bringing in some of these techniques, you have a great way to get a good conversation started. And it's really just a start. This might be something that's ongoing, but leading off with these, we have a great way to baseline. Everybody's going to be able to feel comfortable talking further. So hopefully that conversation will continue and improve for next time. Okay, so we got a bunch of information at you guys. I appreciate you hanging in with us. Before we go, I want to briefly share with you some information about what services Turning Point of Lehigh Valley can offer. Primarily, we have a 24/7 helpline, which you can call at any time if you have questions about unhealthy relationship or you are experiencing anything related to domestic or intimate partner abuse. You just call 610-437-3369, and our trained advocates will help you. Now, as youth advocate, I primarily help out with our youth services in our schools. We're currently in 9 high schools and middle schools right now and continue to expand. We offer empowerment groups for teens, separate groups for males and for females, where we talk all about relationships, the good stuff, the bad stuff, give them a chance to express what they're feeling and hold each other accountable, build each other up. We also do offer as well individual counseling for students in schools. So if there's a student that's there, they can ask their counselor for one-on-one time with us. And if any of these sound interesting to you, or if you're not sure if you'd like to see these at your school, please feel free to talk with your school counselors or school administrators. We're always looking for support there to help us get that door in to bring our services there. And if your teen is interested, but maybe doesn't want to call us on the phone, okay, it's fine. We have a service on our website called Ask Miss G. So I encourage you guys as parents, if you have any thoughts either to or would like to share any questions with us, please feel free to log in and sign a question too. If you access our youth services page on our website, you'll see this icon here for Miss G. She's one of our directors here, and she'll be able to directly answer any question that you might have. And there'll be some examples online for each of you already of questions we've already answered. So you can use those potentially as a starting point for a conversation. Some of the questions we've answered already include like, should I date the weird kid? Right? Or how do I handle an age gap relationship? Right? We also offer similar services to adults in our community. We offer empowerment counseling and legal advocacy support, like we mentioned, for all kinds of scenarios. We provide training and education to the community, including like workplaces. I encourage you to look into our website for that if that's of interest for you. As well as, again, for those trying to get going, we have housing resources that we can help with for those we're working with. And before I go, I'll just mention I buried the lead again. My director will probably yell at me for that, but all of our services are confidential and they're at no cost. Okay, so anytime you call us, it doesn't cost you anything. And if you want to speak with our advocates, your conversation stays between the two of you and no one else. So that's all the services Turning Point Via Valley can provide. I hope everybody took away something today. Thank you for hanging in, participating with us here today. Hope you guys have a wonderful day. Thank you. 30 minutes and 30 seconds. Woo! Woo! You have that down 15 minutes. I think this is your best one yet, though.